Might not be over yet. 5 seconds to go. He's at a bounce. 13! 13! Can you believe it? He's kicked 13.
Gone! It's over! Clark's done the damage. Australia win. What is a goal? Zama Rackets! Zama Rackets has kicked a goal! The Bombers are in front of the G! Here he is, bursting out like Targan. Comes on the right foot. Stringer is alive! The package! Boy, oh boy, wow,
Welcome back to the 42nd episode of the Boy Oh Boy Wowee podcast. Today we have recalled one of the greatest guests we've had, Andrew Embley, for a bit of a grand final preview of the Western Bulldogs and Melbourne Demons. Thanks heaps, mate, for coming on.
Thanks, Bailey. Nice to chat again.
First of all, congrats on presenting the Norm Smith gig. Must be a pretty huge honour.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously extremely proud to be presenting this year's Norm Smith medal. It, as we know, it does go in order, and it was up to Chris Jardine to present it this year. But obviously with the border situation that we've got at the moment and the world we live in is a different one. So I was fortunate enough to get the call up, and we've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to host a grand final here in Perth. We're all very excited about it. WA love their football, but we at the same time we appreciate what's going on over your way at the moment, and our thoughts are with our fellow Australians over there. But we're really confident that we'll put on a really good show, and hopefully everyone around the country will be really proud of what we can do.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll live up to the hype. Jumping into the grand final, who do you think the most important players are for both sides, for the Dogs and the Demons?
When you look at both sides, they're very evenly matched. And generally speaking, your stars are the one that lead the way. Now, you look at Melbourne, for example, how good Max Gorn was last week, and arguably the greatest preliminary final performance of all time, certainly from a ruckman who was just brilliant. Definitely. Christian Petrarca, Oliver, they've got players everywhere. And I think it's really important for those players to be able to stand up and play well. And you've got full confidence that they will, like when you look at the Bulldogs with Bontempelli and McRae and Norton up forward. So there's stars everywhere. I think the key to grand finals, though, isn't, when I say this, it's I've got to be careful because, every player that plays in the AFL and is on the list is a very quality player. But your bottom 3 or 4 players, potentially your bottom 6 players, when you look at the difference between teams that win grand finals and teams that don't, generally your bottom 6 plays a huge part. You look at your bottom 6 when you win a premiership and you go, geez, they all bloody play well, play the games of their lives, versus the team that doesn't. And generally that bottom 6 just go missing, and you're relying on your top ends. And if that top end doesn't get it right, then generally you're not a premiership side at the end of the game. So I expect that both teams, their stars will play well, and potentially the bottom 6 from both sides, whichever team can be a little bit more consistent in that area, gives their team a huge advantage.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that that ruck battle between Gorn and English/Martin will be huge for both sides. If the Dogs can sort of not stop Gorn, but hinder his influence, go a long way to them winning the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Melbourne are in a really terrific position where they've got a second-year ruckman in Luke Jackson, and
Definitely.
This kid is going to be a genuine superstar of the game. Love the way he goes about it. Melbourne have got confidence to ruck Jackson in a prelim to enable Max Gorn to push forward and play inside forward 50. That's the luxury that the Demons have got. So they're in a really fortunate situation. And I felt on the weekend, though, Stephen Martin coming back for the Bulldogs was a huge in. Now, English he's spent a lot of time forward early in the year when Martin was there. And obviously, when Martin's gone, he's had to ruck. But while Stephen Martin is underdone, I think that's really important when you're coming up against the duo of Jackson and Max Gorn at Melbourne, that you've got 2 quality ruckmen like the Bulldogs do to be able to take it up to them. So, I agree with you. I think that ruck battle is going to be crucial.
Yeah, moving on to the key matchups, what do you think some of them will be throughout the day?
it's interesting. So both sides like to take the game on, and you wouldn't expect any hard tags. And the thing is with grand finals, generally speaking, clubs don't really go out there and try to put out any surprises. You know, you back your system in. And so whether Liberatore goes to Clayton Oliver and whether it's not a shutdown, but it's let's go really hard on him at stoppages and see if Libba can, get off him around the contest and potentially push forward and kick goals, which he's become a goal kicker all year. So I would probably presume that Petrarca and Bontempelli may spend time on each other in the middle of the ground, would be a mouth-watering contest. And then inside forward 50, you've got Norton. I think he is going to be crucial. You'd expect that Stephen May will probably get the job on Norton. Melbourne like to have Lever as that third defender, the one that drops off. So I think they'll continue to play that role with Lever. So I think May and Norton's a big one. And the Dogs have been enormous. They've been so brave and they've found a way to hit the scoreboard, but their mids are kicking goals. And if Norton doesn't have a big game, then I'm just not sure where their goals are going to come from. So I think that Stephen May, Aaron Norton matchup is a really crucial one.
Yeah, see, I'm going the opposite way with Libba. When Libba plays well, Dogs are winning basically every game this year. So I think that Melbourne might send like a James Harms to him just to sort of go with him around the contest, just to stop his influence throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, I hear you saying that, and it's such a luxury again that both sides have got. They're really, really deep through the midfield. So they've got plenty of players that can find the football. Liberatore finds the footy and doesn't often get tagged, but when he does, then, Western Bulldogs find it very difficult. So the thing is, you don't really want to upset the balance. So I wouldn't expect that if they do go that way, that Harms will start in the centre square. I think they like their four in there, and maybe comes off a half forward or a wing potentially to grab him and they shuffle. But I'm not sure if I'm going to see any hard tags in this game. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Where do you think this game's potentially won?
I always think the midfield battle, especially in finals, it's a game for teams that are prepared to put their head over the footy and win the contested possession. And you saw that last week with the Western Bulldogs. They obliterated Port Adelaide because they were harder around the contest. And that's their that's when they're up and about and playing their best football. Their hunt and their pressure is outstanding. And they come up against a side in Melbourne who have been doing it all year as well. So I think that midfield battle just becomes crucial. You get the game played in your forward half in finals with that pressure, giving your backs their ability to be able to come and set up behind the footy, forward line pressure. So the ball does come out, you're getting those repeat inside forward 50s, and it gives yourselves a chance of being able to score. So I think, that midfield battle is just going to be a really important one this week.
Yeah, I'm the same with you there. They're both of the midfields are just so deep. Anyone can really run through them. Even on the wings, like Bulldogs have got a few good ones, and Melbourne have got probably two of the best in the comp in Langdon and Brayshaw. So it'll be interesting to see which midfield comes out on top. But I think whoever wins that battle will come out with the flag.
Yeah, no, hard to disagree with that.
Who do you think is the most dangerous forward for this contest?
No, I think both sides have got very dangerous forwards. I think I'm going to go with two potentially small forwards for both sides. Cody Waitman, I expect to come back into the side, and he's almost a little barometer inside that forward 50. He's up and about. He obviously missed last week's prelim with that concussion, but geez, he's exciting, and he makes things happen. I think he'll get under their nerves. Yeah, he's missed the week. He's going to be setting himself for this game, so I think he's certainly one to watch. And for Melbourne, I mentioned too, Pickett. Just love the way that he's gone about it this year. There's a little bit of Cyril Rioli 2008 about young Pickett.
Yeah.
Just exciting, and no one's sort of seen too much of him. He sort of exploded onto the scene this year. and suddenly you make your name for it in finals and grand finals, like what Cyril did in 2008.
Yeah, definitely.
And I reckon it could be potentially Pickett's day. And the other one is Bailey Fritz, who's just a really good goal kicker, medium, small forward, bit of Mark Lacroix around him about the way that he moves and finishes off. Got a wonderful set shot kick. So I think those players will be important for their sides.
Yeah, I think Max Gorn's going to be, when he floats forward, I just don't know, like on the Dogs, who's strong enough. If Alex Keith comes back in, he'll probably take him when he goes down there. But I think the form Gorn's in at the minute, no one could really stop him, I don't reckon.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just send him inside forward 50. You've got Luke Jackson that can certainly hold up a ruck spot in there. And you get that ball in Max's reach, he's going to be jumping at it and it's going to be very hard to stop with those big long arms. So, yeah, again, that winning that territory, getting the game played in your forward half and the luxury of Melbourne having a guy like Max Gorn to be able to push forward, I think is important for them.
Yeah, what's your tip for the grand final?
I'm leaning towards Melbourne, and this is, when I say that, no disrespect to the Western Bulldogs, but I've just liked the way Melbourne have gone about it for probably 5 or 6 weeks now. So they've been a hard team, a strong team, an even team across the board. There's not many weak links in that side at all. And you only have to look at Nathan Jones, the heart and soul of the football club, retiring today, and he's not going to be out there, and how good of a player that he is. So it just shows the evenness of the Melbourne Football Club, and I think it's their time, a bit like it was the Bulldogs' time in 2016. So I think for mine, Melbourne are the team to beat.
Yeah, I think Melbourne get up as well, but I hope it's closer than what the prelims were. I think it's pretty tight contested. Probably come down to the who's better in the last 5 minutes of the game, I'd say.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a beauty. It's looking forward to the contest for sure, mate. So I'm going to go Melbourne, and let's say Christian Petrarca. I'll be calling his name out to win the Norm Smith medal after the game.
That was my next question there, yeah. I think I'm going to go like Susan Ripon form, Jack Viney. He's really put together a good couple last weeks, just contested ball. A lot of contested footy in grand final, so I think he'll step up and continue his good form.
He's been a very important player. Brownlow, I think I reckon Bontempelli started really well, as did Petrarca.
Yep.
And probably just dropped off a little bit. Clayton Oliver, I think, will poll the most votes for Melbourne. I think he'll be right up there. So I'm thinking, for me, it's a flip of the coin between Clayton Oliver and Ollie Wines from Port Adelaide.
Yep, the second bloke is who I'm going with. He's had a very underrated year, especially here in Victoria. Like, no one really talks about Port. He's just going about his business quietly. Like the way, and Port have had a really successful year, which will help him out. And I actually think Jack Steele will come in second. Outstanding year for Saints. Mr. Consistent.
Yes, yep.
Does it every single week. Next one. What's your surprise packet for the grand final?
Surprise packet in regards to?
Like, who do you think will step up that not that they don't really talk about them, but just sort of like just no one really talks about them as much as the other big blokes like the Bonds and the Olivers.
Yeah. I hear you. I reckon, someone like an Alex Keith in the grand final, potentially playing on a Max Gorn and coming in and just playing a really selfless role and getting the job done, I think is really important. And sometimes key defenders don't get the credit that they're due. And I think if he's back in the side, I think he plays a really important role. And maybe someone from Melbourne, someone like a Harms or a Neil Bullen, who are just consistent players, play their roles, but they've got the ability to be able to stand up and kick goals. So maybe those two for Melbourne.
Yeah, mine's a bit of a young fella, Jake Bowie. I think he gets the job on Cody Waitman. Could be a tough one,
Yep.
but he's had a good start to his career. I think he keeps him relatively quiet. I really like the way he goes about it. Just doesn't care about his body. Just puts his body on the line. And then for the Dogs, it's a tough one. I think Bailey Williams. He's really underrated player for the Dogs. He'll probably get the job on like a Fritsch, I'd say. So I think he does a pretty good job on Fritsch as well. So they're my two for the surprise packets. I think that's everything, mate.
Beautiful, mate. No worries at all. It's just put the charging right at the end because I felt like it was going to go flat on us. But listen, lovely to chat again with you, mate. All the best, and hopefully we can see a great grand final.
Now on to the second part of the grand final preview episode. Got two legends of the podcast, Blair and Connor Burns from the Back Pocket Banter podcast. Thanks heaps for coming on today, fellas.
Thanks for having us, Bailey. Appreciate it, mate. It's good to be on. Have a chat.
Good. First of all, let's get stuck into some Richmond news. What's your opinion on Trent Cotchin stepping down?
Yeah, obviously, it caught me a bit by surprise when I saw it. Obviously he's getting on a bit, but the club gave him the all clear to keep going if he wanted. But obviously I'm pretty sad by it. It's exciting but sad at the same time because we've seen him in the role pretty much as long as we can almost remember. I think he took over in 2012, 2013. So it'll be interesting to see who fills the role now, and good opportunity, for Koch to get the last few years out of his body and step someone else into the role, which I'm excited about. So,
yeah, well, I definitely thought it took me a bit by surprise as well. I probably thought he had 1 or 2 years left in the role, but he obviously decided against it, which might not be the worst thing, letting another fella come through and give them the opportunity. But yeah, it was good selflessness from him, and hopefully the last, however long he's got, a couple of years, he can enjoy it and maybe even play a few different roles. Like, he'll still lead the club in a way, but it'll be interesting to see who takes over.
Yeah, who are you fellas hoping to see take over that role? Obviously, a fairly big position, as you guys next year will still be up in the hunt for the premiership. Yeah,
it's obviously a pretty big role. I think the one that springs to mind for me that's probably the perfect sort of age bracket is probably Nick Vlastuin, 27 years, and he's obviously, got a good few years in the role, and I think he's sort of proven he's been a pretty, good temperament sort of player. But another player, like, if Koch was to go on a couple more years, which I thought he was, I thought someone like Jack Graham would be then, 25, nearly 26. And would be probably perfect. But at the moment, he's probably just a little bit young. But he could, I do like him as a leader as well. He's, I think, 23 at the moment. So he's probably Vlossen I'd lean towards. But, I don't really mind. But, yeah.
Yeah. They've floated around Jack Rewalt, Grimesy, guys like that. But I think they're probably a little bit too old. Jack's already the vice captain.
I reckon leave Jack as vice and maybe even Fridge a vice role.
Yeah,
maybe.
so I'm thinking it's probably going to be Nick Vlastuin or Jack Graham. There's a few similarities with Jack Graham and Cotchin, because I think Cotchin took over at 22 maybe. Yeah. The first time he captained, he was like 20. He was ridiculously young. But, 22 when he actually took over the title. And then Jack Graham's 23, I think. So he could possibly, but, yeah, maybe Nick Vlastuin for a couple of years, and then maybe Jack Graham, because he'll be a similar age then in a few years to what Nick Vlastuin is now, probably. So either one of those two, I reckon.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Graham take over. Like, you've still got enough leaders there in like Rewalt, Vlastuin, Grimes, Cotchin. But yeah, I think the thing with Graham is, it's an age problem, but you've seen how good his footy's turned over the last 18 months. He's just turned into an absolute gun, consistent, can do it all basically. So I think he'd be the best option, and you can keep him as captain for a fair while now as well, because he's just in his straps.
Yeah, I think regardless of if if Vlastuin was to take it on or someone else, I think Fridge should probably be looked at to get at least a vice captain sort of role and just sort of work him into it. But no doubt, regardless of the role he has, over the next few years, I think obviously with Koch stepping down, I think blokes like Cotchin will really, help mentor him and get him fit for that role. Because I do see him, if it's not now, I definitely do see him in the future. Quite a possibility. So
yeah, they probably already have with guys like that anyway. I would say like Shane Edwards or someone if he was a bit younger, because he has been acting captain a few times when Cotchy and Jack haven't played. But he's probably a bit old, but he's another experienced guy that'll help whoever gets it out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, now jumping into some trade talk. What's your opinions on, well, Charles left and looks like Coleman Jones is out the door as well. What's your opinions on them two?
yeah, well, obviously it's a bit of a difficult one because I guess like any side when, as you know as well with Hawthorn, any side when you're up there for a few years, like, winning flags and being the top hunter, like I guess one of the best sides in it, there's going to be blokes that drop off and those sort of depth players, you can't give everyone a game. That's the fact. And obviously I'm like Chol, I understand that. I mean, he's like, we probably just can't quite offer him I think he's really talented, Chol. And I think he'd really, excel at another club, and especially if he's getting, offered a 4 or 5 year deal. I think 5 years at the Suns. So it's probably a lot better money than what he's on at the Tigers anyway. So he could be a really good player for them. And obviously CJ, I think I speak for both of us when we say we're a bit disappointed in that, obviously, because he's looked like in the 8 games he played this year, he obviously he took good steps. He's got good hands and looks like he'll be a good player for the future. And obviously, we looked after him a fair bit with all that, the COVID breach and that sort of stuff. And some clubs might have, kicked him out the door, and we held on to him and backed him in. And it's obviously a bit disappointing, but he hasn't, went anywhere yet. But it looks like he's headed maybe North Melbourne. So
yeah, it's going to be tough if they both. Well, they're probably both going to leave. Where they go to from now, because Jack's very old. Winchy's still got a while left, but ideally you'd like to
have someone coming
2 forwards. And Coleman Jones, he's probably 22 or 23, and he's starting to come into that age where, although he hasn't played that much footy, he kind of knows where his game's at, and he did play some really good games this year. So you'd be disappointed to see him go. But I guess it's just the industry. People come and go, but Chol, I can really understand him. He is extremely talented. His best is very good.
It's probably about consistency for Chol. That's probably the main thing. But I think at a side like that, and obviously on that, I think if he's given more opportunity, he'll excel. And as Tigers boys, we would have loved to give those boys, the opportunity that they do deserve. But in a side like that, it's just sometimes too tough to fit them all in. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same with you guys with Coleman Jones. Like, he's hitting his straps now, probably going, well, key forwards take a while to develop, and you've seen that with a fair few like Maxi King.
Yeah.
And just like that COVID breach cost you guys a fair bit. So I would have.
Yeah, 100K was.
You guys showed some faith in him. It would have been nice for like him to show faith in the club. But I see why he's leaving though. Wasn't that much of a gig, and when you're 22 getting offered $2 million over 4 years, pretty handy money.
Yeah, exactly, and that's probably the main thing. I mean, with any players like those sort of guys, young blokes coming up through the ranks, if sides offer them enough, I mean, it's pretty hard to turn it down when you're a young bloke and you got your whole career sort of ahead of you. And even though he did get a few games this year, obviously it was over the past few seasons he hasn't for whatever reason. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find someone else. Even like Samson Ryan's pretty raw.
And got a few picks as well. So.
Yeah, we got a really good draft hand, so that'll be helpful. And it might not come in the immediate term, like another good forward, obviously, unless we get like a mature age recruit from another club, which probably doesn't look likely. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. And yeah, it is what it is, really.
Yeah, jumping into the grand final now. We'll start with Melbourne. Who do you think are the match winners for Melbourne?
I think straight away you have to look to the midfield. I mean, I think especially in finals, that's probably where it's won and lost, in the guts. And we've seen through this final series, Petrarca, Oliver and Gorn have been so good in there. And I think those blokes, if they're firing and on, I mean, Gorn is not going to play like he did. You wouldn't assume because that was, unbelievable stuff. But I think it starts with those sort of guys. And obviously I think those, Lever and May, depending on May's fitness as well. But those two are really important, as we know, down back and the intercept possessions. So they'll be the big ones, I think.
Yeah, I think May's a certainty, which it looked a bit doubtful there. But yeah, he's pretty important, obviously. Yeah, like Blair touched on, the midfield, Gorney, Clayton Oliver, Petrarca, and then for the
yeah, it's going to be a cracking battle in the midfield.
And then for the doggies, it'll be really good. If Stefan Martin, he's obviously a fair bit underdone in terms of how much he's played for the year, and his body hasn't really held up. But if he can just nullify Gorn, I don't think you can stop him from having a good game. He's probably always going to go play a pretty all right game. But if you can nullify him, and then the boys for doggies, obviously, I think Liberatore and Bont are their two most important midfielders, in amongst a few others. And Bailey Smith as well, the way he's been playing, he could really tear the game apart. And obviously the forwards at both ends will be pretty handy as well. So the match winners all over the ground, definitely in the midfield for the respective sides.
What about you, mate?
Yeah, Liver's a big one for me. I think Melbourne send James Harmes to him. Whenever Liver's played well, the Dogs have been almost unbeatable, and then when he's had under 20 touches, they've barely won a game. So yeah, I think Harmes goes to him, and the big battle for me is Gorn versus Martin, because Martin coming back as a English to play out forward, which has helped him last week. With no Bruce, that's big for English to play forward. Just gives them that another tall target.
Yeah, and especially against a side like Melbourne, when, if you got Tim English down there floating in, he's like 204, and then as well as Nort flying at the footy, and I mean, it makes someone it's quite possibly makes someone, obviously, I don't know who goes to, Timmy English if he drifts down there for a start, but it does make May and Lever more accountable in some respects if Timmy English is drifting in there. And we've seen some games he's got good hands. I don't think he kicked any last game, but he got hands in a lot, him and Norton, and they're pretty important going forward for sure.
Yeah, Norton looked back to his best as well. He probably didn't kick that many goals,
good
but
hands.
He took a lot of marks and really helped the side. So whether Stefan Martin gets 5 disposals or 20, as long as he's
as long as Gorney doesn't play like last week,
there doing the job. As long as he's kind of in there doing the job, it's a huge help for the side with English going forward, and then he's a real threat, can kick a couple. So he's a really important link to their side, Steph, despite stats maybe not being considered good, even though he's probably had a fair impact just coming back in.
The thing I find with Norton is, I might get roasted for this, I might not. I find him extremely inconsistent. I don't know what it is. Some days you put in 3 good weeks and then have 4 shit ones, and then some days he's just on. So the thing I'm worried about, he had that good a performance in the prelim. Can he back that up, especially against Stephen Mayer, who's probably the best lockdown defender in the comp this year?
Yeah, it'll be a good test for him. I mean, obviously, inconsistent. He's still really young, and obviously tall forwards, they take a while to develop. But when he does show glimpses, he's hard to beat. It looks like he's clunking it. If he's on a night, he just marks everything.
Doesn't drop anything.
And even what I was impressed with him just on the weekend is a few times they're kicking out from full back, and he's come down to the defensive 50 line pretty much and taking a big relieving mark out of and just ease the pressure. And that's so important when you're in a final. Hey?
Just the little things that makes him good.
Yeah. Yeah, so they'll be definitely hoping that he has another good one. But as will Melbourne with Gorney, they'll be hoping he can, replicate that again.
Yep.
Yeah. Now jumping into the key matchups, one of the big ones for me, I think, is whoever does get Max Gorn down forward, when he does drift down there, don't underestimate Luke Jackson. He has been massive for them this year. even Gorney that rest down forward, he wouldn't have kicked 5 last week without Gorney, without Jackson. Sorry.
Yeah. No, Luke Jackson's been really good, obviously, rising star. And like, I think he's only just turned 20. Like, he's, burst on the scene. He plays pretty mature sort of role, I guess, and he looks pretty, I guess, relaxed and composed when he has the footy. So, yeah, he obviously plays a huge role, and it'll be a big matchup on whoever plays on Gorney, because when you win like that, I know both sides coming off a huge win, confidence is high, but when Gorney performs like that, you're the captain of the side in a prelim to send your side into like first grand final ages to kick 5 and absolutely have 20 touches. It's he'll be right up there. Like, he'll be confident as I reckon, Gorney.
It's the best final I've ever seen by a ruckman by far.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like, I remember, like, Connor and I just looked at each other when he ran to 50 and put that one through. I thought, gee whiz, you can't do that. You don't do that. And then he's taken one out of the ruck, just a dusty like goal. I've said, what is this bloke doing? Bananas.
Yeah. No, it's insane. Yeah, he's worked pretty hard. Like, he had a few ACLs early days, and to see him get the reward, even if you don't support the side, it's really good, and he'll be critical in the granny and moving forward.
This grand final, I've got a bit of a feel of like when the Dogs won theirs. So like, there's been a drought for that long. Melbourne have really hit their straps the last 6 weeks. It's like,
yeah, I think
similar.
it's like, yeah, I think it's sort of like, obviously, 2016, the Dogs have come from nowhere, finished outside the 4, and then they've come through on an absolute run, confidence high, and they've took it all out. Drought-breaking flag. Now this year, Melbourne, despite the Dogs finishing outside the 4, but Melbourne are sort of that fairy tale side looking to break the drought. So it sort of roles reversed. And as a neutral sporty, like me personally, I'd love to see Melbourne get up, just because, I'd love to see it for blokes like Neil Danaher, Nathan Jones, even just see it. The amount of hardship they've been through, and the sheer, like, 57 years, something like that's crazy. So you'd love to see them. And I mean, Dogs, obviously they've been great, and coming from where they have, but like 2016, like, I think they've had one recently, so I'd like to see Melbourne get this one.
Definitely like the D's get up, but on the other side of the coin, if the Doggies win, that'll just be insane to win 2
incredible
flags from outside the top 4 when it just, history says you just don't get first and foremost, and you don't win them if you get there. So it'd be the epitome of really taking your chances, because normally a top 4 is the way to go, but no, they've proven otherwise.
The thing I'm worried about, how long's it been since the top side actually won the flag?
Yeah, well, it has. I think, they regularly show the sort of stats like that, and yeah, it's been pretty rarely. I think, like, every year you nearly look back, it's that top side that rarely actually eventually gets it. I mean, you can go back, probably the last 10 years. There's not been many times where the top side has actually held on and won it. So it'll be interesting, and it's disappointing as Melbourne, because imagine the grand final parade, no COVID, Doggies versus Melbourne, supporters be going bananas, 100K there, crazy. But it's a big build up, like, it'll be good.
Yeah, who do you think most dangerous forwards are for both sides respectively?
Yeah, well, I think for Melbourne, probably more so. Obviously, Fritsch has shown what he can do this year. And he's like, on any given day, he's got the ability to turn it on. Beautiful kick. And he plays really good in the air, obviously, and he can probably do it on the ground as well. But I think as well, blokes like Benny Brown are quite important, because, like, Ben Brown, I feel like when he seems to play well, get his hands on the footy, even on, like last game in the prelim, obviously everything's going their way and it's hard to judge, but whenever, even really early in the game, he didn't like have shots on goal, but he'd take a mark outside 50 or something leading up, generate a goal, and he probably had a lot of score involvements for only maybe 1 goal. So I thought I really liked his game. And what about the Dogs, mate, for you?
Definitely Cody Waitman.
Yeah, good to see him back in.
Pending selection. He should get back. I mean, he's a really good player, and I love the way he goes about it. There's a little bit of a Toby Green sort of aspect to him, but he seems to pop up in the right places. And like we said, if Norton gets going, if he's clunking his marks, he could be extremely dangerous. So those couple, and someone like Tim English would pop up and kick a couple pretty handy ones. And then for Melbourne, like Cozzy Pickett,
Cozzy.
Fritsch always, just like Blair said, Fritsch always seems to just pop up in scoring positions, and it seems like he didn't even have an opponent the whole time. Like, he seems to pop up in space. He just must be a really good athlete and smart footballer, and he
obviously
finishes off the work too.
Yeah, Tommy McDonald as well. He's had a lot of good games without necessarily hitting the scoreboard as well. Like, I think he's had a fair few games in the high sort of teen touches, and it's good to see him getting his hands on the pill. So we wish him all the best and love seeing him tear it up.
Yeah, mine's a bit of an interesting one. I thought it's not so much goals this one. Josh Shackey last week had the job on Lear did bugger all last week. I think Shackey might go to Lever, and if he shuts him down, that could easily win the game from the Dogs.
Yeah, Shackey obviously come in as a defender in that first couple of games, and he played really well down there, judged it well. He was taking a lot of marks, and I thought they've really found his niche here down there, and it's really looking good. And then they've chucked him forward, and obviously, confidence was high, and big game over there against Port Adelaide over there and in the crowd, and on a Lear, like you said, and he was really good, leading out, hands outstretched, taking grabs. And I think he probably had 5 shots for maybe 1 or 2 goals, but he was not missing by much and getting his hands on the pill. So he's very important. And like you said, I think, Lever and May are the 2 really important ones, and probably more so Lever. If you stop him, it goes probably a fair way to, minimising their impact. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, Lever probably covers a bit more ground, I reckon. Like, he gets to a few more contests and just sort of runs everywhere. But yeah, May's, the same. He's pretty damaging. But yeah, I didn't think Shackey would necessarily be up to that, stopping a Lear. And it's like, I think 2017 Townsend just played on Lever, and Lever must have been pretty young then, but he was still
a very good football back then, yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth a shot. Because if they can bring it to ground, like, more often than not, if you bring it to ground, they're gonna have enough opportunities to kick a winning score. You would have thought, whether they do or not.
Oh, 100%. And
sure.
I reckon, like, obviously, when you're talking about, like, winning score, bringing it to ground, Mitch Hannon, he's really bobbed up in this final series as well, playing against the old side. And obviously, like you mentioned, Cody Waitman's back in. And then even, Dogs midfielders, Bont hits the scoreboard. Bailey Smith has been hitting the scoreboard hard. Like, all those guys. And, they're all really important, and they'll be there at the fall of the footy, no doubt. So that'll be good.
Yeah, there's key players all over the ground, and there's a lot of players there that can kick goals for either side. So hopefully there's a fair few goals kicked on the day, and hopefully it's a nice and close game, unlike the prelims.
What's your fellas' tip for the grand final?
Yeah, so I reckon I'm going to tip Melbourne. I think, obviously it can go both ways, and what people are saying, they haven't played much footy with this extra week as well. But I think, I know the Dogs have done it before, but I think their legs might, I think they just might be a bit tired. And Melbourne have had a cruisy run in and have been hitting form. So I'll probably say Melbourne by, I reckon, 22 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Melbourne as well. It just seems like if ever there is a right time for a team to win the flag, it just seems like
their year.
The right time, like, not much has went wrong. They had a little dip in the middle of the year, and naturally you can't keep it going. But the way they come back from that, and they've been so impressive since, it just feels like they might have a few too many sort of contributors and players, but I reckon it'll be reasonably close. Probably only about 2 goals, I reckon, and there could be a few lead changes during the game. and it could be pretty tight, which I hope it will be.
Yeah, I think D's get up really since they drew with our mob. They haven't really taken a foot wrong.
Yeah.
I just think Melbourne have the better team all round. I think Gorn will be too strong for English and Martin. I think they get up by about. I think it's close. Maybe it's close. I think they get up by 4 points.
Yeah, I'd love to
That's
see.
a go. It would be good.
I mean, because obviously,
like
yeah, it would be an absolute cracker. And as neutral supporters, obviously this year, me and Connor, we'd love to see a tight one. Obviously, when your side's playing it, you don't necessarily want to see a too close one. But
we know the feeling too well.
Yeah, but like in saying all that though, I wouldn't put like the Dogs are running us like they're playing a sort of
Good brand of footy.
dangerous sort of belief mindset. I reckon like they've done it before. They know they have. They're confident. Like to be honest, I as a supporter, I ruled them out going to Adelaide to play Port. No Waitman. And when Keith went down, I thought, nah, they're in trouble now.
And they hadn't even been able to really train and get out. So
I know
they had a lot piling up against
it's
them.
one of those things where the back's sort of against the wall. They're underdogs. Hey?
They had a training session against Port.
Yeah, well, that was the training session. Yeah, lots of people have said that. It's funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty
run around like cones, weren't they? So
that was a pretty good tweet. But yeah, hopefully it's like Collingwood West Coast in 2018. Obviously, that was a pretty good game. So it's
Wouldn't mind one of them again.
you always want to see a close one. Yeah, you always want to see a close one when your team's not in it. But luckily enough, with Richmond, it's been close during the game at stages. But most of the time, they've run out pretty comfortable winners, which is pretty satisfying to watch.
Yeah. Who's your tip for the Norm Smith?
yeah, that's a good question. I might go a little bit left field. I reckon someone like Christian Salem. He's probably my tip, just in the fact that you see a lot of the time in these sort of games that those rebounding defenders are so pivotal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, or even you go back in the past few years and those sort of players that run it off and they get seen, they get plenty of the footy. And Salem's been really good. Like I think especially last game he was really strong against the Cats and probably had nearly 30 touches. And I think while you can look at the blokes that blaze away and kick goals and stuff, which it's quite regularly some of those sort of players. Sometimes it's those blokes down back that get it done, and I reckon someone like Salem could be a real good chance.
Yeah, I'll go a Melbourne player because I assume. I hope they win. But probably Petrarca. I don't know. He's had a good year.
He's one of those players. I was going to say that he could have he's one of those sort of players that you can have 20, but you kick 2 or 3 and you nearly secure the norm. If you're hitting the scoreboard as a midfielder and you get enough of the footy, you're going to pull well.
I just feel like if he has 20 and kicks a couple, almost sort of like a couple like Dusty Grand Finals, he kicked 4 in 2 of them, but he only had about 20 touches, and then the other one kicked a few and had a few more. But I think if he gets 20 and kicks a couple, he's probably going to be seen as more influential on the game than Quaden Oliver that has, let's say, 16, 17 contested possessions from about 30 or a bit more disposals, something like that. So
it's all impact. Yeah. What about you, mate?
I've Chand Embers already put 2 in. I'll put in another one. I think Jake Lever, if he gets that Shaki matchup, I just think he'll tear him to shreds. It'll be a big matchup if it happens.
Yeah.
And Lever will just be able to peel off him. He might have been playing a guy like Mitch Hannon, and you know what happened there. Mitch Hannon's way too small to be going on a bloke like Lever. He can run off. Don't have to worry about his opponent. So I think he'll have a very good game, Jake Lever.
Yeah, it's generally those sort of blokes that, get recognised on the big games, like Stephen May and Lever. As like those sort of guys, especially Lever, if he's taking intercept marks and stuff, he's going to have a huge impact on the game and every shot for taking the norm.
Yeah, you'd love to see a key defender win it. That's for sure.
Yeah, like you look, defenders in grand finals, like before Dusty won his 3 noms and just stole them off everyone.
Yeah.
Before that, you look, there was Lake, Hodge, even when he played down there. So defenders have had very good grand finals, and Basher could have won one.
Yeah, exactly. It's those sort of guys.
Defenders is, I don't know, in grand finals they just show up.
Yeah. No, and I guess it's more important, on the big stage. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, who's your tip for the Brownlow?
Yeah, Connor, you kick us off, mate. I think we spoke about it on the pod a while ago when we put our tips, and I think we'll back the same blokes in.
Yeah, I can't even remember what I said.
I'm sure you're Bont. But you pick whoever you reckon now.
We'll go. There's been a lot of good midfielders, but we'll go Bont and Pelly. The fact that he's kicked, I'm not sure, 25 or 26 goals or something like that. So he's kicking one a game. Sometimes he's kicking a couple, and if he's getting 20, 25, 30 disposals in those games, he's going to poll pretty well in those games. So I think, and they've won a lot of the games, and there's a lot of other good midfielders, but yeah, I think probably the Bont.
Yeah, I'll probably go for me. It's a little bit left field again, but I've been singing this bloke's praises since, I called him for Brownlow maybe 5 weeks ago, I reckon, and Jack Steele. I reckon while he hasn't been talked about necessarily. It's been all Oliver, Petrarca, Bont, all those sort of guys, but I've got I don't even know what it is. It's a weird feeling. I just a bit of a gut feel that Jack Steele could get it done. And I mean, it's going to be tough to, pass Bont with the year he's had. And even Lolly Wines is another one that's, been right up there talks. But for some reason, I reckon Jack Steele might get it done. He polls pretty well in the past. And this year, by all facets of the game, he's actually improved. The only thing will be whether the losses that Saints had will be enough to get the votes, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, while it's not all about stats, his statistics definitely match up with the best. And like Blair said, he's improved, and that's pretty hard to do when you're already a pretty good player.
Just quietly, $7 on Sportsbet. Get on him.
I've got Ollie Wines. Just Port have had an unreal year behind him. Ever since he sort of stepped down from the captaincy, he's just sort of gone up to a new level. There was talks of him getting dropped when he was captain, and now he's just averaging 30 disposals quietly. Doesn't get talked about because obviously not a Victorian side, so
yeah,
not much talk about him, and he just goes about his business quietly.
He's had so much of the pill this year. He's had lots of games where he's cracked the 40 even, and he's been huge for them over there. And I think, to be honest, we've got 3 of the top. Our tips have been 3 of the top 4. I think Oliver might, in no particular order, obviously, but I reckon a Bont, Wines, Steele, and Oliver will be the 4 for me. I don't know in what order, but it'll be good to see the Brownlow Sunday night before the grand final week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Wines hasn't. Wines hasn't played. He hasn't played a bad game this year, really. And they've all been pretty high standards, so it's a pretty good option.
Even I think Sammy Welsh should be close.
Sharp
will be up there. Maybe
Luke Miller.
Duke. He's had an unreal season.
Gold Coast probably sets you back a little bit, but but he's played a lot of good games. I like the way he goes about it.
Yeah, who's been the most surprising player for you, not just for Richmond, but in the AFL?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd probably go. It's a bit of a simple one, but A'Leary, obviously this year he's been sort of unreal in the way he sort of burst onto the scene in some respects, and what a pickup he has been for them. He's filled that role that lots of sides are sort of searching for, that lever sort of player. And he judged it so well. And I've been, early on in the year, I was like, geez, can he sort of keep this up? And he pretty much has. He's been really good this year, and definitely one that pops out in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players, but I reckon someone like Ed Langdon, he was at Fremantle, and because WA wasn't talked about too much, but Definitely in his first few years there, he was in and out of the side, and he was a bit of a fringe player. And he wasn't highlighted for his running. Like, you didn't really know these things, even though he clearly had that as a strength. And last year, I think he would have struggled a little bit, just like the rest of Melbourne, which that just makes their year so impressive. Last year, they were getting gunned down by everyone for not making the finals. And the way he's been able to come in, play well each week, run both ways really hard, and cover a massive amount of ground he's been one of their most important players. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, mate.
Yeah, mine's Tom Hickey. Like, I thought he would have retired at the end of last year. Like, and then he's just come out, played. He would have been in the question for best ruckman early on in the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Injury, and you were like, oh, that's his season done. Could be career, and then he comes back a week later, and it's just week after.
Yeah, wasn't it PCL? Did he hurt his knee in PCL or something? And then he's just come back
or something, and they're like, "Oh, this could be a long-term injury." Nope, next week you're in.
Yeah, it could be career. Nah, boys, give me 7 days. I'll be right.
Yeah, just imagine how well he'd be playing if he hadn't done the PCL. Like, he's going through that, and obviously it's good enough to play, but like, he has to be sore. He has to pull up sore, and he has to be sore during the game, and it really affects jumping and stuff. Like, Big Nank did his PCL, and he come back a bit later after surgery, and it was never right. After that, and they said he couldn't really jump. Like, we were getting pumped in the hitouts in the second half of the year. So it can be a real long-term thing if you don't get it right.
It's shocking injuries, especially for ruckman, because like a ruckman is jumping more than anyone on the ground, and that's basically you need your knee healthy for that. So
yeah, and when you put 105 kilos on top of that, it's it's a fair bit, like, it's fair effort to be jumping and always landing, a lot of weight and pressure going through the knees. So lots of the time you see it really stuffs their career sometimes, because it's just they can't really get back from it to their best. So
yeah, definitely years ago, like PCL, ACL, that it could have been career ending before they had kind of the surgeries and treatment that they do for it now.
Yeah, moving on to the Carlton Footy Club here, hot topic. They've missed out on a fair few coaches here. Who do you reckon is sort of the best option for them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought it was. I'll just touch on obviously David T. I thought that was. It was a bit disappointing in the way that all happened, I guess, because I think he's been dealt a pretty rough run of it. And I feel for him personally, because he's had 2 years at the helm, and it's been tough couple of years with COVID and managing everything, and for them to boot him out, I think it's just they should have shown a bit more faith in him and backed him in. For who, I don't really know. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think David Teague's their best option.
Burn the bridge there though.
Yeah, they're probably not getting him back now, and he probably wouldn't want to come back.
Well, they wanted Ross, and then he turned it down. So
yeah,
Larko's not doing it.
It's definitely it's tough. Maybe a Michael Voss or someone. I
think
the other day he said he confirmed he'd been in talks. I was thinking Craig McRae before he went to Collingwood, and even like Lepich, but now he's at Collingwood.
When I heard Bolton left, I'm like, oh, he's going back to Carlton, but no, he's at Collingwood now as well.
Yeah, the
Pokes only Voss, I reckon.
Coaches.
Yeah, I thought Ross Lyon was absolutely shooing. Like, I heard, he's had talks with the club and all this sort of stuff, and I thought, like, he's all but signed the contract, and then all of a sudden he comes out and says, I'm not doing it. So I was shocked by that. I thought for sure he was he would have been high odds to take the role, and I reckon the club would have thought he was a very good chance when they got rid of Teague. And then Ross Lyon said, no, I'm not doing it. And they've thought, shit, where do we go from here? Like, that was our man. So
yeah, we can't. Yeah, they might have just put all their eggs in the one basket there, and
I reckon they might have. Yeah,
he was the guy. So I'd say Voss, but even Adam Kingsley from Richmond's been
Yeah.
thrown around a little bit, and he's assistant coach. But I don't want to lose another coach, so I hope Voss gets the job.
Yeah, more footy. Who do you think will have a breakout year next year?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let me have a think. Across the team, it's sometimes hard to pick because it's players that aren't generally talked about and stuff, and then just have a cracking year. Yeah, anyone pop to your mind, Connor?
Not particularly. It might not. You might think it's almost a weird call because, even like you said about Aaron Norton not being consistent. Even Aaron Norton, I know he's certainly not playing. He's playing pretty good footy, but I feel like he'll have a breakout year in the respect that he'll take bigger marks more consistently, kick more goals, and he'll be that reliable, and that will put him from good to almost great. Well, certainly in the next few years, but it's tough. I'm trying to sort of search for a younger midfielder or something like that. But yeah, Norton, even though he's already a good player.
Yeah, I can't really think of too many, but who do you have?
I've gone with the Tig. No Basher Hooley next year. Someone's got to fill that role. I've gone Ryan Mansell. Had a pretty good end to this year, I thought. No Basher there. I think he'll just slot straight in.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen from him as well, and obviously, yeah, Bash and Asprey, both retiring pretty. Well, it's sad news for supporters and stuff because, especially Asprey, was a bit of a shock. I didn't really expect him to pull a pin. Obviously, he's got a fair bit of good footy left in him, but yeah, like the defensive six will look a bit different. But I think blokes like Mansell and when we get all these blokes back from injury, we're fit and ready to go. You've got Grimes, Lost, and all those guys alongside him to help him, and as well as Rioli even going down back there. You've seen he was pretty good in that role, and blokes like Liam Baker have been pretty good anywhere in sort of utility. So it's probably a good call, Ryan Mansell. Hopefully, I'd love to see him really come on next year.
Yeah, Stack, Mansell, and Rioli, they've all shown good signs, but probably not. Not consistently because they're all very young still, and Rioli only just went down back. But yeah, if they can improve it that bit, they'll be hugely important to like Richmond's scoring chains. Like Jaden Short's already a star, does it week in week out. But Ryan Mansell's a good call. He's played good this year, and he could be. Or he seems like he's going to be a real find for someone that was picked up in the pre-season draft or even early into the season. I think it was. He trained for a few weeks and then got picked up and hasn't looked back.
Yeah, moving on to the cricket front, Ashes. How do you think Aussies go against the Poms this year?
Yeah, Connor, you can kick us off if you want, but I'm keen for it. I love the Ash. It's just such a great environment and feel around it, I guess, whenever it rolls around. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's always good in Australia as well, but I'm not really sure. I think Australia have obviously struggled a bit. I think it was
recently
might have been against Afghanistan or Zimbabwe. I'm not sure. They've struggled in ODI and T20s, but it's obviously a way different game to Test cricket. But I think if they can sort of get their best side on, and it's always can a few other guys step up in the batting order other than Smith and Martin.
The ones you rely on all the time.
If you can get I don't even know if Travis Head's contracted anymore, but if you can get a couple guys like that to play better consistently, it will just skyrocket the team. Like they won't be relying on Smith.
Yeah.
Marnus, and hopefully even David Warner can get back to his best would help a lot
Australia,
too. But
Warner's unreal.
I think it'll be a close enough series, but England have had a few injuries and stuff come through, and a few things that haven't gone their way, so that probably gives us the edge. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see England's bowling attack because following their series against India, it's basically been Joe Root against India. Joe's just had no help.
Yeah, I have seen that. Obviously, he's we know the star he is, and yeah, he hasn't had too many contributors, so they'd definitely be looking for a bit of an all round solid sort of performance, and as will we. So it'll be a tight contest, and obviously the Ashes always brings out some of the best cricket. So hopefully both sides, for the sake of viewing, get their best sort of sides in and let them battle it out. So.
I think that basically tops off everything for tonight, fellas. Thanks heaps once again for coming on.
Thanks for having us, Bailey. It's good to chat about, catch up and have a chat about all the sport going on. And I'm bloody keen for the grand final and Brownlow and all that sort of stuff. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. No doubt you will as well. So
definitely.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having us. We'll come on. Anytime you want. And hopefully I'm pretty keen for the summer sport. And
COVID to go away.
Yeah, definitely for us to be able to do a few more things when the vaccination vaccination percentages are reached and stuff will be really awesome. And the summer's just always good to sort of get out and about and play some cricket and do all those sort of things, which we'll be really looking forward to.
Might not be over yet. 5 seconds to go. Let it bounce. 13! 13!